Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next episode of the Personal Branding for Professionals video podcast. As a part of the series, we spotlight powerful personal brands across the globe to inspire your personal branding journey. I'm your host, Ketaki Vaidya, and as you must have guessed from the title of this video, today is all about mentorship. Irrespective of the stage of your career, we all need a mentor to support us. Mentorship is like friendship, it evolves over time. The right mentor takes time to analyze your strengths, your weaknesses, the things that you're passionate about, to help you prepare for the next move in your personal and professional life. But there's a problem here. While most professionals agree that having a mentor would benefit them, there are very few people who know how to find a mentor and make that relationship productive and meaningful. And that is what this episode is all about. It's about finding the right mentor or mentors at the right time. Joining us today is Adela Mehic-Dzanic. She is a businesswoman, female tech leader, a speaker, and a mentor. Originally from Bosnia, she moved to Austria with her husband 7 years ago and started her career from scratch. Today, she works at an executive level of the software company Mavoko AG and serves as the Vice President of the Female Leaders Network of the W Executive Academy. What intrigues me most about Adela is her career goal for 2020, where she decided to impact 1,000 women and girls in IT and beyond with her career story. This experience allowed her to meet women from different walks of life who are supportive, ambitious, determined, and very often the only women in the room. So she strongly believes in the power of networking and she's very vocal about it through her extensive LinkedIn network. Are you ready for this conversation? Let's begin. Welcome, Adela. It's a pleasure to host you. And what intrigues me the most about you is your career goals for 2020. And I'm sure we'll talk more about it. But welcome to this show.
Oh, thank you, Ketaki. Thank you. And thank you for having me. And welcome to all the viewers and your community. It's my pleasure to be here.
So, Adela, first of all, tell us, how did your journey begin? We want to know more about your story. I've already introduced you to our viewers, but I want you to introduce yourself in your own words and tell us about how your journey began and what were the struggles that you faced along the way.
Yeah, pleasure. So, we moved a couple of years ago, so actually 7 years ago, my husband and I took, I think, the biggest leap in our career. So we basically packed our stuff and moved to Austria. Both of us come from Bosnia and Herzegovina. So we moved to Austria and started basically from scratch here. So we both come from the STEM industry, and as you know, it's a very respected field, and there are many job opportunities nowadays in this field. So this was really a good time, I would say. It was a great timing that we became aware once we moved to Austria, so that they are really in the shortage of engineers, of skilled people, of business professionals. And that's what we realized when we moved here. So it was a little bit big plus, basically a big plus for us when we came here. So basically it started very, very small. So when we moved here, we were just, so we came here on our savings. We came here basically on a student visa, on a grant, making sure that we had a limited time and we had to start very fast to learn the German, to socialize, to integrate in the community, and to find a job. And it's within 6 months, I landed my first job at a telecommunication company, it's an international company, but which was really, really good for my career. So because getting firstly into international community, it helped me to meet as many people as possible. It helped me to learn my German, improve my English, and get to know what is happening basically now in my industry, in the Internet of Things industry. Along the way. So this is really, if there's one thing that I can recommend as well, of course, the international companies, they help a lot with this career planning, because once you start after the university, there's so many paths and so many ideas that you have, but you're not sure where to go. And then if you have the opportunities, the best is to land into the international company where you have the opportunity to explore different ways and where you can meet different people and say, okay, how is that business? How is that unit going? Do they have the future? How's their plans and on? And from there, so it was a very, very, I would say, very fast journey for both of us. So I was going from one job to another. So I was really growing and getting promoted in my field. And eventually I landed in the global unit, in the Internet of Things unit, digitalization, new business and growth, which was as well game changer for my career. So as you know, 5 years ago, it was a relatively new field industry. So everybody was like very much curious about it. Some of the companies decided to go into that back then in 2015. Other companies, they said, okay, not now, let's explore it later. So I was really at the beginning, let's say, and had an opportunity to work in a way of corporate startup. So we were funded by a corporation, but we were startup in all sense. So that the mindset, the people that we were hiring, the growth that we have been experiencing. So when I joined, it was like 40 people. When I left, it was over 200 people all over the Europe, and we had customers all around the world. So it was a very, very fast journey, very agile. And that helped me very much in my career, because in a very short period of time, I had a chance to get to know many people. So I was always, I was a consultant. I was very customer oriented, so customer facing. I was traveling most of my time and helping, basically consulting the customers on their digitalization, on their digital journey. And that helped me very much to my career. So I wasn't basically in the background, so I was really in the front, which has its benefits because you learn very fast and you meet many people. On the other hand, it can be really challenging because you know how to manage a career and the family and your private life, because it's mostly lots of traveling and lots of late hours. But as I like to say, so you have different ways how you can grow your career. One of them is that you say, okay, I commit to that. The next 2 years, I know that I can really, push this through, and I can work really hard, and I want to develop really fast, and I don't want to wait for 5-10 years to get the next opportunity. So this is something that each one of us has to make decision for themselves. And for us, so at home, we discussed about this. We discussed about all the opportunities and the career development. We are both ambitious, and we said, okay, I can commit to this. It's going to be a really bumpy road from zero to something. But we said, let's do it now and not wait. So one thing for the viewers now is like, don't wait. So if you have the window of opportunity, use it, because if you now see something new is coming in your company, it sounds interesting and it has the future. So take a little bit of research and try to get engaged into with these people. So see what they are after. And if you are curious about it, I would definitely advise you to always to look for the new things. This is something, this curiosity. So this being okay, I want to look what's new, what's next in the technology, because technology is very fastly developing and going so fast. Yeah. So we have to keep the pace, and it's not easy always because there's so many things, but it's good to basically take one piece of that big cake and be an expert in that area, and try to, on the other hand, in the other areas, to be a generalist, let's say. So to understand, okay, what does it mean? Okay, how does it come together? But if there's one thing, it's good always to, specialize yourself in at least in one area, like I did in the Internet of Things. And it's been growing. So it was like, okay, the starting point, it was growing and growing and growing. And you just put I would say, puzzle together and see how it can support your business, or how you can consult your clients even more, and for yourself, for your personal development as well. I think it's very important to be at the side where something is happening, so where you can grow and where you can say, okay, I learned something and now I want to do something else. And you can bring something with you, some skills that are very tangible that you can bring with you to the next position. So nowadays, I moved from the telecom industry basically. So I was deeply in the telecom and serving customers in the IoT industry, and now I'm in the software industry, serving telecom clients and network operators around the world. So it's basically it's the decision as something that I made, where I decided I really want to go deeper, and I really want to explore also the other side of the spectrum, and it fits very well together. So nowadays everything is software, and it's good to tap always every couple of years into the new area and upgrade basically your expertise.
Yeah, and that's very inspiring. And at the same time, through your story, you're making a very good point that what we usually do, and this is a common tendency that I've seen amongst today's professionals, that we think that, okay, if the next promotion is due in 5 years, we'll wait for 5 years and then we'll do something. Or we keep a timeline that, okay, I'll maybe wait for the next 10 years, see what happens. If nothing happens at that point, then I'll take a decision. So we always give ourselves this a period till which we are going to tolerate something, and then we are going to take the next step, or only then we're going to take that risk. So it's very important to have a career development plan, and at the same time push yourself so that you can bring yourself closer to the next step, and you can show your organization that you are capable of taking the next set of responsibilities, and that has to come from you rather than you being dependent on the organization.
Yes.
Offer that to you. You have to bring it up because it's your career in the end. And as you said, finding your niche in the industry, that's very important too, because you have to be able to understand the bigger picture. So you have to be able to plug in different technologies, understand where we are eventually going, but at the same time finding your niche and being an expert in the field that you've chosen for yourself, and constantly challenging yourself throughout your career. Your story is a great example of how it can be very risky, how it can be a road full of darkness at times, but you still have to get into that because that's a very unconventional road. Not a lot of people take it. So if you take that decision, you'll be very proud of that decision when you look back. And I'm sure when you look back at your journey, you must be very proud of all these small decisions and all these small wins along the way that brought you where you are today. Right, and that must have given you immense personal
Absolutely.
growth.
Exactly. It's always good to go back. So when every day we face new challenges, and especially if you're ambitious, if you want to make career, so every day you have something new on your table, and this is what allows you to grow. And this is where you ask yourself, how can I solve this, or what's new about this? And what gives me as well strength, as you said, it's always looking back at this experience and say, okay, look, how many times in your life you didn't know anything about something, but how did you approach this? So what did you do? Did I contact people? Sometimes it can be like contacting experts in that area and then asking them, okay, I'm totally confused by this concept. I have no idea how does it work. So can you explain me? Or going to your colleague, for instance, who knows this very much better than you. Let's go for a coffee, or let's talk. Can you please explain me, because I don't understand it. It's not always like, okay, I tried for the first time and it's not working, and I'm not talented. I don't have any talent for this, and I'm a failure, and so on. It's mostly about, like, okay, maybe, this book doesn't explain it very much for me, or maybe I need to find another book, another author, another person to explain me. And I think that's about always expanding. So once you get into this zone of growth, it's always expanding. You cannot stop. So it's something, always there's something that always comes to you. Is like, okay, how about this and how about that? So it becomes part of you, that you are naturally curious about things, that you're naturally curious about what's next, and it develops. So once once you are there for a year, 2 or 3, you will see yourself that it's part of you, that you read books and read articles and check the podcast and go to the conferences. You cannot imagine your life without that. So you don't think about where weekends are like, okay, what I want to order, and which are the conferences next year that I want to visit, and which are the people that I want to see, and so on. Yeah, it's a journey. It's a journey, basically, that you
And
goal.
it's very easy to get lost in the woods, but at the same time, you have to challenge yourself constantly so that you can stand out. And that's what we all want to do. So if you want to
Yes.
really succeed in your life, both personally and professionally, I think everyone has to stand out and everyone has to bring their unique perspective to whatever they're doing. So tell us more about the career goal that you had for 2020, where you wanted to share your story with 1,000 other women. That's a very great initiative.
Yes.
And it is going to create a ripple effect where it's going to impact so many other women to share their stories and then continue the cycle forward. So how did this begin?
So I think the idea started like around end of last year, so beginning of this year, and it was finalized in February this year. I work very much with coaches and mentors throughout my years of career. So I have always have had a support, and I was always looking for experts who can support me in different career. As you said yourself, career is your so you're responsible for it. So your career, your choices. So you need to steer the company and everyone around you, so to support you in getting to that goal. And that's what I felt. So I was about how can I serve the community, because I know that throughout my life, so I started very, I have small beginnings. So we are 5 children. So I have 3 brothers, sister. My father worked his whole life to support us. So we started very, very small. And for us, education and us going to school and making sure that we were always top of the students, and we always exceeded basically the expectations, and he was really proud of that, and we were of him supporting us along the way, because it's very challenging if you don't have a job and you have to support a big family. And I cannot. In my life, I was always very much supported through the community, through different people, organization, and people just supporting me, seeing potential in me, and saying, "Okay, I really want to support you." And I had scholarships, because otherwise I would not be able to graduate and finish my university and start it off. So I'm very grateful for all the experience that I had, and I was thinking, okay, how I can give back. So of course you can give financially, you can support different initiatives. That's really, really good. That's what we used to do. But now I felt, okay, there's something in me that I want to say. So I felt like this is the moment. And this is very important to recognize this moment, so you don't push yourself really too much. So it has to, it's talk to yourself, to your intuition. Because my coach was telling me this months before, and I felt like, no, I'm not ready now. I really, it has to sync with you. And basically then I said, okay, how I can serve even better. So how I can serve even more the community in the best way, and of course develop myself further, because I wanted to go out, I wanted to speak, I wanted to improve my different skills, I wanted to connect with the community, I wanted to build my network. So it's not one goal that it's somewhere in the clouds and I do it, but it's very connected to everything around. To my business that I do full time, and to my communities, 2 communities of female networks that I'm building up, and to my mission that is connected to the 10 years vision. So, and then, how is it with the goal? If you put the number on it, and if you put the date on it, then it gets a shape and form. And it's proven that if you do that, it's better chances that you will do it and that you will stick to it. And what other thing that I did, I announced it publicly. And this is important to do. That's why I said you need to, listen to your intuition and know that you're ready, because people will hold you accountable.
Exactly.
Right? Because you said that you will do it, and people watch. So even though sometimes they don't react, but they do watch and then look what you're doing. And if you're really honest to your words, and this holding my word and serving the community has been always, it's part of my personality, and very important. And it's the most great pleasure when you can give one or the other advice to people, and they say, "Oh, okay, that's what I was looking for," or that was this word and this encouragement was important, and now I know what I have to do. And because everyone now knows how to write a CV, right? So there's millions of templates, and there are free templates, and there's millions of opportunities, but people need this encouragement, saying, okay, maybe have you checked this, or like, these little tips that go a long way. And it's also about the role models, about, for instance, for both of us, we are working in tech, and about showing the faces of women in tech that are
Yeah.
making a career, that are coming from abroad, because I came from abroad and I didn't know the language, I didn't know the culture, and everything was completely new to me. And then, of course, there are women and people, so men and women, who are looking up to it and saying, okay, she did that. And there are other young girls who are saying, okay, it's possible. So
Yeah.
it's possible. So I think this was the first thing about the mission, just like, okay, going out there and sharing, yeah, it's possible to make a career, even if you're, a woman in tech and a foreigner, and coming and starting from scratch,
Hmm.
and having sponsors, or have wealthy, parents, and this and that, and millions of other, or Harvard degree or whatever. So I did my education in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and it's a universal education. Basically, now you and I, we all study from the same books, and we all, study the same protocols, and so on. So it's universal education. So I
Yes.
wanted to just to, go out and tell the story. And then, how it is when you start, you just like have a couple of ideas, and then it grows,
Right.
because you go out, and then there's a feedback, and say, okay, how about networking? Okay, how about, how
Hmm.
important is network? How do you build your network? How do you basically get into this new society? Because
Hmm.
I don't know anyone here. And then how do you get around, how do you understand how this society works? And how do you build the communities? And what does it mean to have a mentor, or many, many mentors to your career, and how they can, uh, foster your growth, and elevate your career to the next level. And these are all these things that I accumulated throughout through the years. Some of them I just went for them because I felt I need a mentor.
Hmm.
I need a female mentor now at this point of my career, and I went for it. I looked for it, and I felt, okay, I want to tell this story. I want to share all these great communities that I worked with, all these great people that I worked with, all these tips and tricks that worked in my case for the networking, for instance, or what I'm reading, or what helped me to build a community here, and. So that's how
Yeah.
it started. And it went on all the stages. So I had a really amazing year. And it started with a simple post. It started with the first event with my closest friends, and who joined for the first event, like 12 of us. It ended up with Women Tech Conference with 200 people. It ended up with over 35 stages that I went and told my story through interviews, through webinars, through podcasts,
Hmm.
through trainings that I am holding. And it's going in the next phase nowadays, where I am as well now very focusing on networking. I'm sharing so
Hmm.
every week, 2 times a week, I share about all the networking tips that needed, and it resonates very much with the community. I'm getting more questions so that I can answer it, and it's very much developing and growing. And I just started the new YouTube channel. It's called Making It in Austria. So how to start your career in Austria, where I interview people, mostly my friends and colleagues, who have really inspiring story
Hmm.
of them moving from one country or one continent, coming to Austria, starting from scratch, and what was important for them, what helped them, and how did they overcome their own challenges. So it's once you start, there's so many ideas that come
Yeah.
along, and then you see, okay, how
How
it
far
can,
you've come. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
That's very interesting because I'll tell you that a lot of us we do have goals. We want to do something for the community, and we have something in our mind that we eventually want to get into action. But unless we quantify it, like you said, putting a number to it, saying that I'm going to impact 1,000 women, so the number can be more than that. But having that number in your mind, that itself can put a direction to all of the actions that you are doing towards that goal, and then it keeps you more focused towards that goal. So that's a very interesting thing that you did over there, that because even a lot of us, we might think that we want to mentor someone, we want to use our experience to give it back to the community, but unless we absolutely decide that, okay, I'm going to maybe help one person per week or 1,000 people
Yes.
throughout the year, year. All of that is going to be difficult, definitely, because you don't have it all figured out at the starting. But what you do at any point of time is look at the next step. Then when you get there, you get the feedback constantly, so you constantly fix everything that you're doing, you constantly
Yeah.
evolve everything that you're doing, and eventually you traverse an entire journey. And it's a beautiful journey because you yourself have grown along the way. Even with all
Yes.
of these struggles and everything, you've accomplished what you wanted to. And that's a very beautiful feeling. Not only is it commendable, but at the same time it's giving the inspiration to those girls that when they get to some point in their lives where they think that their experience is worth sharing, they will also start giving it back to the community. And as women in STEM, I think we should be doing that for sure, because being a part of the STEM industry, it's a very empowering experience. You are contributing to the technology industry every day. You're waking up and leading something, and you're being a part of that entire revolution. But to share that feeling with someone and to let everyone be a part of your journey by sharing your story, that can inspire them to a different level. And none of that can be done through financial support or anything. It has to be the human connection that they feel. It has to be the role models that we set for them by leading through action and by showing them that it might look intimidating, but you deserve the chance, and every girl in this world deserves this chance for that matter. So it's something very great that you're doing, and I hope
Absolutely.
every one of us can get inspired from your example and give a number to whatever we are doing and just get started with it without procrastinating about it and without thinking how all of it is going to work out. So the key is just to get started, right? As you've already shown us through your example, it's just to get started and then put yourself out there and then see where the universe takes you, see what kind of feedback you get, and eventually, before you know, you've already created an impact.
Yes, absolutely. So you don't have to have all the answers. So it's for me, for instance, the speaking engagement. So I read the books and I did some trainings and I observe a lot and then pick some tips and tricks. But the best way is always to do it and then basically take the time to reflect. Aha, okay, I did this time, so that was good. And next time maybe I could improve on this and that. So it's back and forth. So it's improving. And
Right.
this is something that we as a human being. So I could not love to do. So I could not imagine my life being very just like a line and then everything is
Yeah.
figured out and everything is clear and everything is planned and yeah, I just have to do this A, B, C, D. I think that would be for me, that would be a very boring life. That I can imagine that for some people it's the way of living, but for me, as I
Mm,
told you, like once you stretch your growth zone and you're curious and you nurture this curiosity and creativity
mm,
within you, it feels like you're not living if you're not out there and if you're not producing, if you're not creating, for instance, content and engaging with the community. It feels unnatural.
yeah, and it's about living to your truest potential, right? You have to
Yeah,
do that for yourself. Otherwise, you don't have that contentment at the end where you feel that I've not done something, or maybe my experience could have been the only reason that someone continued with their journey or they entered into this industry for that matter, right? So tell us one thing
absolutely.
throughout the experience of you talking with thousand other women, inspiring them. Tell us what you've understood about personal branding and why is it important for today's professionals?
I think it's getting more and more important. So to be honest, I wasn't thinking about that when I started the journey, but along the journey, I started meeting new people. So broadening up my community, and then personal branding. I met some experts in the personal branding, and I was like started thinking about it. As that idea came to me because if I would have been sitting in my corner in my
Mm,
office metaphorically, and doing my own things, I wouldn't know what is happening around the world. What are the other things that excite people? And personal branding is definitely, we are all brands. So we are all brands. So I think Oprah said that also once in her interview that I was watching. She said, they told me I'm brand and I didn't know that I am a brand. But, she puts her name onto something and then people get immediately attracted to it because they know her, they trust her, they love her, and so on.
mm,
And that's why it's important once you start, as soon as you start thinking of yourself, everything that you say,
mm,
write, post, share, and so on, it's what people associate with you.
yeah.
Everything that you comment, like, reshare, and so on. So I don't mean it to scare make a scary story, but it's part of you. It's people start creating a picture about you, and if you are not there, if you're not careful about that picture, then it can go many ways. But that's why it's so important that you show your face, that you tell to the world. So what is that you care about? So what is that you stand for? And the best person to do that is you. So that's with my mission. So I said, this is me. So and on the other side, every time when you go out, you're giving pieces of yourself, because you are the one telling the story. So you're giving people getting to know more and more and more intimate to you. And as you said yourself, I have a full-time job, and apart from that, I'm building 2 communities of networks, and this serving community has been always there. And I felt, okay, so I always think about what are the things and skills that I can get in the company, in my workplace, and what are the skills that I can acquire somewhere else. And because you cannot have all, I cannot go with 10 requirements to my manager and say, how do I exercise these ideas, in my job? So because 3 of them are now important, and maybe in the future 10 will be important, but I don't want to wait 10 years. What I said, okay, if I cannot exercise leadership in my position at this moment because of different circumstances, what can I do to make that happen? So I started building up communities, female networks here in Austria, and global ones. So I said, okay, I cannot develop these skills in my company, but I can go outside of the company and I can start my own journey and start building up new things. And this is also part of my personal brand. So people recognize me as someone who came. So because by telling my story, so people say, okay, she made career here in Austria. She's in tech, so she's supportive. So she's empowering women. She's sharing her story. She's building the communities. And these are all what I have accomplished through basically being out there, being present, and sharing my story, and making sure that this story is what I want to be shared about me, and that I'm there, making sure that, okay, this is what I stand for, and I show my face, and I share my content, and I share my inspiration, and that's the best way forward. So because now wherever I go, in 2 years or in 3 years or in 5 years, this is part of me. This is something just like your contacts or your community, and all the skills that you have acquired within and outside of companies, something that you can take with you and go whatever you want. It's part of your assets. It's your assets. It's like what you have done, and yourself. So the world is changing rapidly, and all the companies are always looking for employees that are not following the straight path. Graduated, the first job, second job, third job, that's it. They're always, if you're writing your CV, so they're always looking for, you're a student, and maybe you've been part of, debate club, or maybe you've been part of the sports team, or maybe you've been whatever you have interest for. So they are very much curious, about that. So this is what's very important for whoever you are. So if you are student, or if you're junior, starting the career, have a couple of years experience, it is important to start as soon as possible. And I am convinced of that. I believe in that. We all have hobbies, interests. We all have something to share. And nowadays, thanks to so many tools that we have, like you and I talking over YouTube, or there are thousands of different tools that you can use and start. Basically, and don't think about, okay, is this going to be successful? Am I going to have hundreds of followers, or how is this going to grow, and what are going to people say? I think that the most important thing when you look for that thing is about, you should have fun, because you should really enjoy it. Because that's a couple of hours a weekend, or a couple of hours after work or before the work. So you have to really find a way to enjoy it. And this is the first thing that you should be really concerned about. Okay, what is that I enjoy, and what is that I do without watching on the clock and watching the time, and what are the things that I forget about time? And what are the things that I could talk? There's another great question that says, what are the things that I could talk for hours without any preparation? What is that I can talk for hours? and go for it, and go for it, and you will see, engage in different communities, go out, show your face, and it's your asset. It's your asset for life, that you can take wherever you want to go.
And I agree with you on that point, because I think that we all, whether we intentionally realize it or not, we have a personal brand, and everything that we are writing, posting, or shooting, people are subconsciously associating that to our brand, and they're giving us a tag that, okay, when I say Adela, she stands for a mentor. When I say Ketaki, she stands for personal branding, right? So
Yeah.
there's this
Yeah.
the tag that is being associated to you, whether you realize it or not. And if you are not very conscious of the efforts that you do in this direction, it can put out a very scattered definition of who you want to stand for. So if
Yeah.
people don't know what they should approach you for, then you are not adding any value, because then you're only creating chaos in your community. But how
Yes.
should you fine tune your brand to only talk about the things that you want to stand for, or to only talk about the things that you are truly passionate about? And when people approach you in that, you actually want to help them, because
Mhm.
when we build our personal brand, the ultimate goal of that is to add value to the community. That's how we
Yes.
find our happiness too. So if we are not able to do justice to our brand in that terms, then we are essentially not doing personal branding. So it's very important to have to find the why of your brand, and then be consistent about it, no matter which platform you're choosing to post it.
Mm.
But you should be consistent with the why of that brand, so that you're putting the same definition everywhere, and people can associate you to that particular field of expertise that you want to stand for, right? So that's a very great point that you're making over there. And at the same time, one other thing that I learned from your experience here is that we always put a prerequisite to our happiness, that okay, when I reach 100,000 followers, I'm going to be happy. When I get that next promotion, I'm going to be happy. But if we keep setting those prerequisites, we are never going to enjoy the journey. And those
Yes.
struggles, they are not going to come to your life again. So why not celebrate them when they are a part of your life? Because eventually you'll reach somewhere where you'll not face those same struggles again. So it's very important to enjoy your journey along the way. And you might have some milestone in your mind, but we should not be very focused on that particular destination, because the journey is equally important, and that's where most of your growth is going to happen. That's where your mindset is going to change. That's where you're going to get different perspectives to look at life, right? So it has to be celebrated.
Mm.
Each and every moment along that journey, it has to be celebrated, no matter it's a struggle or it's a win. But it has to be shared and celebrated, and we have to do justice to it, right? And
Definitely try to find a ways to celebrate.
absolutely. So
Yes.
when we talk about the why of our personal brand, and when someone is trying to start their personal branding journey, and if they want to find the why of their brand, how do they do that? How would you suggest that they can get started?
There are different methods. So I've worked. So I wasn't sure. So I worked with coaches and
Hmm.
mentors throughout my career. So I would definitely recommend, if you're to find someone to support you on this journey, to basically fine tune it
Hmm.
out of you. And I know it for me took. I went in beginning of this year to a transformational weekend with 15 people coming from all over the world for this weekend, and we worked on together with the coaches. We work on our 10 years vision,
No.
and basically once you have this, as you said, big picture, and then
Yeah.
it's good to see, okay, what are the kind of milestones, this little mission that I'm going to do along the way,
Hmm.
to make sure that it all fits together, so it's not like all over the places, as you said. And for me, impact has been always very strong. So impacting
Hmm.
people came out to be a very strong part of my personality. Think about, they like to say, think about the things that are bothering you in society. Think
Hmm.
about things that really bother you, that make you crazy, that drive you crazy, and you have the solutions to it. You have the answers to it, for instance.
Right.
And this is one little thing that you can start with. Basically, instead of getting frustrated, instead of getting, okay, why do I was like frustrated with the point, like, why are not more women joining more communities?
Right.
Why are we making all these great events, and then like we see 10, 15 women, and we know there are hundreds and hundreds of them here, so why
Hmm.
are they not showing? And I was like frustrated with that point, but I didn't know what. So one thing, like, what do I do with this? What do I do with this frustration? How do I change it? And this is the good. So you need to have this frustration. So it frustrates you, and they're like, okay, do I change this? I think it's a really, really good start. Instead of getting frustrated, instead of getting angry at people, instead of like, okay, yeah, whatever I do, no one is showing up and so on. I started thinking, okay, how I can go around that.
Yeah.
Basically, and what is that I can do? Maybe it's starting to demystifying the point of events. Maybe then I started organizing my own events, so with my own ways, with my own having it fun, or picking the great places where we go, and getting really nice people around there, so that we have a great networking, and we meet new people, and everybody's happy, and people keep coming back to it.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great way. Or that's why I started writing, for instance, about networking as well, because how you can attract people to join your mission is about you making it attractive to them, and not attracted to you, and not getting frustrated all the time, like no one is showing up, and we did this amazing event and just 3 people showed up, and so on. But it's always good to start thinking in that term. What frustrates you? Okay, that's really good. That's the starting point. And then what can you do to make your mission more appealing to others, so that they say, okay, I'm coming for that event, or I'm joining your mission, and yes, I will be a mentor in your organization, and then. So try to think in that sense.
Yeah, I think there's a very fine line between what you're frustrated about and what is in your control and what is it that you can do. So finding that thin line and getting to the other side of the line, where you're trying to do everything that you can from your perspective, everything that you can control from your side, and constantly looking at the feedback, constantly introspecting your process and fixing your brand, tweaking it here and there, and then all of that should be aligned to your strengths and interests. That's very important, right? So it's very important to first, no matter how much time it takes, but to first give it a lot of time to understand what are you passionate about, what do you want to stand for, because once you get started, it's very difficult to come back and erase what you've created. So you have to be absolutely sure of what is it that you are absolutely passionate about, and then along the way, definitely your journey will evolve, and you get to understand more things about yourself, because it's also about finding yourself. When we begin our personal branding journey, we are essentially trying to find ourselves too, and along the way we learn a lot about ourselves. We learn about what works for us and what does not work for our brand. So that can definitely happen, but to find the why of our brand, we have to give it as much time as it takes, but understand what we are truly passionate about. And as you said, for you, it's about making impact, and it is connected to people. So that's the reason that the why of your brand is revolving around it. And for different people, it can mean different things, but to take out that time for ourselves, we never take out some time for ourselves to introspect our journey, or to understand what we are interested about, or what is it that we do have it within us. We have something that we are especially very good at, but we never take the time to understand and learn about that, so that we can realize that this is what I want to do in my life. So to take out that time daily, consistently, to understand that.
And you can always find, as I told you, I work with coaches and mentors, because some of these questions are very, very deep, and then you feel like, okay, I tried it myself, but I really need support in different areas, because I cannot conclude to this, or I cannot make the first decision, and I would like to have an outside perspective. So it doesn't have to be coach or mentor. So this was my way, but there are some people in your in your close circle of friends who you trust, or who you would like to ask for advice for. It's always good to, as you said, before you start, you can always go back to your circle of people and ask. So what do you think about? So what are the things that you and skills that you associate with me? So what do you think about these different ideas and so on? So it helps to to ask your community as well. So because they can help. At the beginning, I was thinking I will never be able to go and talk on the stage and talk in front of the people, and it was very scary for me. It was so far away from me. And my coach, and my colleagues, the sport, my group, so in the coaching. So they saw it for me, but they saw so many things for me, but I didn't see them, and
Yeah.
it's good to have this, short term and long term. So it's great, they see me there, but as well, how do I feel with that idea? So how do I feel comfortable with talking to
Hmm.
20 people, or do I feel comfortable to talking at the beginning with 100? Or maybe it would be better that I gradually go from 20 to 100 to 500 and to larger audiences and so on and so forth. So you are basically steering the process, but it's always good to get
Yeah.
outside perspectives, to get the big picture, and to have people who will support you on this journey. Because, as you said, it's a journey, and it's always good to have this feedback loop where you can
Absolutely.
improve a little bit. Yeah.
And I'm glad that you're mentioning mentors here, because we often feel that we are going to mentors if we are not able to do anything. But essentially, they are going to give us that push which is required, or they're going to help us build that confidence. And it's all about confidence. Once we are confident about a certain thing, then we definitely are going to achieve it. But we just have to set that in our mind, and we just have to know that we are capable of doing it. And if someone can give that push which is required, if someone can inculcate that confidence within you, that yes, I see this in you, I see this potential in you, and you can do it. That's the only thing that we need to then get started, and then we are definitely going to prosper. But for that initial push where we are struggling with self doubt, and when we are struggling with
Yes.
I don't know what I'm going to do, I don't know what I'm meant for. So that's very important. So tell me one thing, that what is the importance of a mentor in one's personal branding journey, and how should I find one? If I want to find a mentor, how do I get started on?
Mhm. Mm. That's a great question, and so I had a couple of mentors through my career within the
Mm-hmm.
company. So one of the natural ways that people go to mentors is through the company, because some of the organization have their mentoring program, so where you can get matched with different more experienced mentors depending on the field of expertise and your
Mm-hmm.
field of your interests. And other ways, so that I had that one as well. But the other ways that I explored was through the communities, female networks, and in general, so networks communities, which have their yearly organized mentoring program, where I basically wrote to them about things that where I am, so where I'm in my journey at the moment, and where do I want to go, basically. And then they did kind of matching in the background, and I got a mentor to work with for the next 6 months at least. Usually work from 6 to 9 months,
Mm-hmm.
depending on the mentoring program. And the third way is always, you can, if there are people within your community that you respect, that you feel them, okay, like they could be my mentors and I want to learn from them. The best way as well is to approach them, to approach them and to ask, would you like to mentor me? It can be in different ways. It can be, but what I like to underline about mentoring, there should be consistency. That there should be you and I deciding on what we want to achieve in six
Yeah.
months, because every mentoring program is different. Every
Mm.
mentoring program is different. Every mentor and mentee is unique.
Yeah.
And it's important that you and I sit together and say, okay, what is that we can achieve, or where should we look in the next 6 months, and then
Mm.
or 9 months, and then we agree on that, and then we go along the journey. So we can define it differently. Every month we do different topics, and then at the end of the 6 months at the graduation, so it happens that we covered all, and you have a clear picture of where do you want to go. For instance, and why a mentor is so important, it's so good. So it's such a good feeling to get perspectives from people that have 10 to 15 years of experience from
Yeah.
you. Of course, you can read books and you can listen to the podcast. And mentorship is as well about friendship, and
Mm.
about, at the end of the day, so you become friends, you become closer, you share so many intimate details about your life, slowly, step by step, with this person. This mentor introduce you to his or her network of people, can vouch for you as
Mm.
well, can be your evangelist or your ambassador of what you want to achieve. And there
Mm.
are different ways. So I think when you work with your mentor, for instance, one of my topics was journey to me, myself, and I. And I was working with a mentor. She's her name is Claudia, and she's so creative. She's one of the most creative person that I met. You know, and she's not in the STEM. So I was looking for people really outside of, outside of my field. I wanted to broaden up my expertise, my experience, and to get to know, creative side, to explore the creative side of myself, to like, okay, what is more there than analytical part. And she works, for instance, with the Lego, these Lego toys, and she does different workshops on different topics. And so we started the journey, and through the journey we realized, okay, all these ideas that have been in my head, but I didn't know how to, I didn't visualize them. I didn't know how to tell it within the words. I didn't know what is bothering me, or where do I want to go? What is my next step? Basically in career. And then we, through working together to these different visual tools such as Lego, I managed to get to the point where I understand. So we tracked basically the progress, and we saw, okay, when we started it, I was all over the places. And when we basically finished, I had a very, very clear picture of where I want to go. And mentoring can be different topics. For me, that point was career. It can be as well for the personal brand. You can do it in many, many, many different ways. But it's important to realize that it's such a shame if you don't use it, right? Because we are all surrounded by people who have so much to offer, and they're mostly people do like to offer their help, and if you ask them for their advices, and it's such a pity if we don't tap into that power and then say, okay, can you help me with these different topics? And as we said, it's a journey. So you have I had a couple of ideas, but at the end of the day, it was completely different, and we were all very happy about it. And now I started to be part of one mentoring group. So I will, from next year, I will be mentoring people as well. So this is how the journey goes,
Nice.
And that's very, you are a mentor, and you're a mentee. The next year you come back as a mentor, and it's constantly growing, and you can see so many success stories and people starting businesses together, and opening doors and different career opportunities. So I would say there are so much to explore in the mentoring program. It's about you as well, and your mentor to steer it up and then decide. It's a personal brand. And this person, usually mentors, are very good in career, very good in planning, very good, very well connected, and they can recognize the potential. So you can work together on exploring this potential and making sure, okay, what is my mission? What is my why? Where do I want to next 5-10 years? And I think it's something that that we all should be mentors, and everybody should have a mentor. I think nowadays, because it's such a great opportunity to explore. I can definitely recommend.
Yeah, and I think one takeaway that I can take from your experience as a mentee is that we should have multiple mentors, right? It's always we have this misconception that it's only one person that we need to talk to, or it's only one person to guide us, but that one person cannot help us in every aspect. So we might want a mentor for the creative side of our personality, or we might want a mentor at work, which is specific to the situations that you are confronted with at workplace. You might want a mentor for your industry in specific, right? So there can be multiple mentors that you have to reach out to, and that can cover different aspects of your life, so that you are looking at your overall development rather than just focusing on what you want to do at your workplace, or just focusing on that next promotion or next hike, right? It's just not about that alone. It's about how much you're growing overall, how much are you growing in your life personally and professionally as well. So you need to have this set of mentors who are going to act like a board of directors, who are going to help you in your journey, and who are going to show you that side of your personality which you otherwise wouldn't have realized.
Yes, fully agree. Yeah.
Yeah, so tell us one thing. You've talked a lot about strategic networking, because that's how you can find your mentor too. So tell us a few tips on how one can do this networking, and how they can use networking to connect themselves to better opportunities and to also enhance their personal branding journey.
So there are many tips that I could say.
I know that.
in this regards. But understanding, I think one thing is very important to understand networking, so the concept. It's
Mm.
about building relationship, and it's about giving, and taking.
Mm.
So it all comes together with serving the community. It's not about I go in, I take the business cards, I make that promotion for myself, and then I'm out.
Mm.
It's about being there. So it can be 5 people that you're close connected to. It can be 15 people. It can be thousands of people. But it's about you providing the value, as we said
Right.
at the beginning. So it's about really providing the value to the community. And there, what's important about networking is it's about to start. So I think whatever you are, so you can be, as we said, student or
Mm.
junior. Unfortunately, when I was studying, I was too much focused on my studies. So I was totally in the books, and I wasn't really paying attention to the world around me. So I said, okay, I want to have all the A's, and I want to,
Mm.
after I was like, after I graduate, then I will, think about the job, and then I will think about this, and I will think about that. It's like I park that part of me, and this
Yeah.
wasn't really the best approach, because after I graduated, then I realized, okay, no one knows me. And the market has changed. When I started studying, and when I graduated, it was the market, the job market was looking for people, just the software developers. That was it. No telecom engineers and nothing. Just software engineers. If you're not that profile, there's nothing else.
Mm.
And I think that was like a tipping point for me, when I realized, okay, this is not the way how I should be doing things. And along the career, I said to myself, I'm not going to send CVs to different companies and then wait for them to reply or not to reply, respond, and so on. I want to turn around the way, and I started networking people. I started, simply by going to, based on my interests. On one side, you had the professional interest. I was in the telecom industry, IT industry, Internet of Things industry. There are many different communities here in Austria and globally as well. So different meetups, different communities on LinkedIn. For instance, LinkedIn is a great tool to connect with the professionals globally. So I like to put emphasis on having a diverse network, having a really diverse network, because what happens when you have a diverse network, you tap into many different ideas. And
Mm.
then it's important to what your community is sharing. So if you have just a community of IoT professionals, then of course they will be just sharing the use cases, and then the solutions and the companies, and then the reports, which is all good and necessary.
Yeah.
But it's not just that. There's so
Yeah.
many things happening in the world, and creativity happens in between.
Mm.
Creativity doesn't happen when I stare in the report. It happens when I look around and then figure out, okay, how I can apply this solution to that. So it's very important. So for me, at the beginning, realizing that it's diverse networks. When I moved to Austria, I said, no, I'm not going to have just professionals in Austria. I want to have professionals in the Netherlands in this industry, professionals in the US for the exchange. And then I started joining different groups as well on LinkedIn, where you can basically see who is there, who is joining, who is commenting. You can engage. There are different ways how you can join different calls and events. So that's always a great way. So don't sit, in front of your computer and then think, okay, it will happen, or I will post once a year, and then people will notice me. No, it doesn't. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
The most important thing with networking is to go out and meet people, and you of course have this close group of people to yourself, and you have a longer group of people, so that you maybe colleagues that you used to work before. So you already have a network. So we all have the network of, we all studied. So we all, from the high school, from the university. So each one of us had hundreds and hundreds of contacts that can start with previous colleagues, current colleagues, different community groups, for instance, on LinkedIn, different people that we follow for insights. So we already have networks. So realizing that we already have the network, and it doesn't. And what is important as well, you have to go out and meet people.
Yeah.
And nowadays, it's a great opportunity to meet people from all over the world.
Hmm.
because you can join any community of your interests, and you can join any meetup just by simply clicking and joining the community, and then showing your face, and sharing and start sharing the knowledge, start creating the content on LinkedIn, because that's the best way that people know what you stand for. So that's why the personal brand, as we said, okay, what are the 2-3 things that are of my interest? Okay, you can make a plan. So one day I post about the professional things, and the next day I post about my my mission and my interest and other things that are feeding the creative side. So there's different ways how you can go around. It's important. So it's people. So people react to people. Networking, no matter the title, no matter the 20, 30 years of experience, it matters how you approach the people. And as they say, people will forget your name, people will forget your title, but they will never forget how you make them feel, right? So it's always about serving the community. It's about the active listening. It's about when you write someone, for instance, if you want to connect with someone on LinkedIn and you don't know this person, so it's good to maybe check their profile before, right? You can check their profile and you can say, okay, look, I saw that you're working on this project, or you worked in this company, or whatever. So show this interest and not just like bluntly send whatever messages. So if you do it, if you are doing it, do it right. Invest some time, because people respond to when you create the messages for them, and not create something copy paste, and then we know that you contacted hundreds and hundreds of people with the same message, and then just block you and so on. So there is a reason why you're connecting this person, and it's always good to give the reason. And in my case, so I met many people through my work, because I was, as a consultant, and going out and meeting people. And nowadays I'm meeting more and more through different communities. So I give different talks, or I engage in different, in women tech community, for instance, where they have different events and so on. And every time when I go to these events, I connect with all these people that are there, that are contributing, and every time the network is growing. So if you go for an event today and like you meet 5 people, and then why don't you add them on LinkedIn right now, and not in 3 weeks or 5 weeks, because you will not remember them. And why not, if there's one person that you've been in a breakout session together, and you said, okay, I really want to have a coffee with this person, why not arranging a coffee with them virtually, like I like to do with my community, just going on a call for half an hour, and arranging it, and just exchanging the ideas, maybe introducing this person to another person within your community, and so on. So that's how it starts. It starts with very, very little, contacts. But, everywhere you go and everything you do, it's you. It's your brand, as you said. It's your personal brand. So if you decide to go on this journey, and if you promise someone to send something like a link or an article, or connect this person to another person, then don't forget to do that. Because you're building the trust. You're building the community, you're putting your name there, and it's not about, how many, if you have 10,000 connected on LinkedIn, or 5,000 or 1,000, it's basically about, making sure that you hold your word. Basically, people will hold you accountable for it, and you're building the trust. And the best way to build the trust is basically delivering on your promises, especially in the early age when you get to know each other, and then you don't know much, or go through the recommendations as well. So it can be as well through recommendation. If you have mutual contacts, for instance, it's always good to go through the recommendation. Say, can you please introduce me to this person, because it might be faster. Or maybe if you're curious about different companies, for instance, that you think I would like to work there, but I don't know how it is, because everything is nice and polished on the website. It's always good to go on LinkedIn and find people who work there, and then just basically send them that kind of message. Don't send to one person. You can send it to 3 people, for instance, and say, look, I am doing this, and I saw your company, it's really interesting. I would like to basically to invite you for a coffee or for a short chat, because I'm very much curious about your position and how is it to work for this company and so on. Or you can send them a list of questions. So I would say in most cases, people do respond. And people do respond. Sometimes it takes them a little bit longer time, but it's up to you basically as well to, send them the reminder, because it's not that we don't want to answer this busy world that we have around us, and then sometimes we forget. But if you're persistent enough, I think you will find different ways how you can contact people.
Yeah, and that comes back to, again, maintaining your brand, as you said, that once you build your brand and once you've shown people that you can help them in one particular area, it's up to you to earn that trust when they approach you, because now you've already shown them that you can do this for them. But when they come to you, it's also about whether you can actually help them, because whatever you're claiming, you should actually put it into. That's very important. And you've also given us some very great tips on networking, because I think a lot of people think that just simply sending out connection requests to people or having these many number of followers, that's what networking is about. But what it's essentially about is about you sending some personalized request, or you engaging with people's content on LinkedIn, or maybe having virtual coffee chats with people to get different perspectives, to learn something from them, and to really add value to every day. And to every conversation that you have with various people, because that helps you to grow in your journey, and that might even influence the why of your brand, because then you understand that, okay, this is something that I'm passionate about, this is something that I want to support. And that's how you can also support multiple initiatives or get people to be a part of your initiative, right? So these are some very simple things. These do not take a lot of time, but it's just the change of approach that has to be brought in, and that can lead to effective networking. Thank you for showing us through all these examples that anything is possible, and what the importance of networking is, because that's something that not a lot of people focus on, but it's an absolutely essential aspect of not only personal branding, but everything that you do in your life is going to be tied to how you can network with people, how can you gain value out of your community, how can you give back, because you can only give back when you truly understand what your community needs. So all of that comes from networking. Thank you for sharing all these tips with us. We know that you're an expert in networking, but it's also important to be able to break it down and explain it to people that it's not as intimidating as it looks. And it's all about this slight change of approach that you do, and that can earn you a lot of results, and that can show you what the true power of networking is, and what the true power of personal branding is also, for that matter. So thank you so much, Adela. Good luck on your initiative. I hope that you have even higher goals for 2021, where you're trying to inspire 10,000 women or 100,000 women. And I'm going to link all of your work in the description of this video. And I would encourage our viewers to go and follow you, look at the amazing work that you're doing, and support you in every way that they can, being a part of your journey to help in any way that you need. Maybe they can join your mentoring groups, and they can also share their experiences and inspire other people in your group. So all of that, I'm going to definitely make it possible by sharing all of your work in the description. And it's been really amazing hearing a very different perspective on personal branding from you. And you yourself have had a very long way of personal branding journey, and you've on the way you've discovered yourself. So it clearly shows that now you're at a point where you're satisfied with your personal growth, and you have a plan in your mind. So you're not blindly navigating directions, but you know where you want to go, and you know that you're going to make it eventually. So that energy that you've brought to this video, it's very inspiring. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Ketaki. Thank you all. Pleasure to connect with all of you.